Hi and welcome, this is the tutorial to bring this table we created with Blender into Unity 5. I decided to use this project with the opening and closing door, but before I had to export this table out as FBX, so I selected the table model and all the submodels, choose Mesh, selected objects and export it as FBX. After that, I will open Substance Painter, where we created the textures for this table model, and export this to Unity 5 metallic workflow. Then I will open the folder where we exported these textures into and drag them into my Unity 5 project. All these textures and of course the table FBX model. And then they are imported. And then we have the table model, the textures and the materials in Unity 5. Now I have to say this drawer has a strange position, but I think that's because the close animation is the default or the first animation imported, and therefore it is pulled outside, and we also have to scale this, but this is all fixable. Now let's rotate it around the Z-axis 180 degrees, because it seems like I have designed it the way that it is rotated 180 degrees, also no problem. And now let's see what we can change in the FBX import settings. We have the open and the close animations. That's great. And I think I will create also or generate the colliders for this model. The mesh colliders will be generated. And then I pull this drawer to the inside. Okay, that's it. Now we can assign the textures to this model. First the table, select the table, and then drag the albedo to this slot. After that, the metallic, and then the normal map. We have to fix the normal map after we assigned it to the slot, like that. Okay, looks really great. And now we do the same for the drawer. Albedo, metallic, or now first the normal map and then the metallic. Okay, what is missing? The knob is missing. It has also an albedo to drag here into this material, the metallic and the normals. Okay, that's it. Now you assigned all the textures to the materials that were imported for this table. Let's pull out again the drawer. Looks really great. Okay, it looks awesome. Now I think the size of the table needs to be increased a little bit, and then let's start the project. You know this project, it's an FPS project with an FPS controller. You can walk around. And now the goal is to apply the same logic that we have for the door, to open this door, also for this table. And in the end, to be honest, I want to do some refactoring so that I don't have two scripts. I want to have one script that does exactly the same. Bring up this panel, ask me to press the E key to open it, and I want the same to be applied for this table. Okay, now let's see how we can do this. I think it will be quite simple. First of all, we have to create an animation controller. Just drag an animation of the table here to the model. An animator or an animator controller will be created, and we can open this and see here is the open animation as the default animation. But we don't want this to be the default animation, therefore I create an empty state. This is the default state, and the open animation should be played when something happens, okay, when a parameter is set to open, and the same is true for the close animation. I drag this here into the scene of the animator, and now I set my default state to empty. I set the name empty and define a parameter called open, a bool parameter, and define a transition from the empty state, the default state, to the open state. But this is only called if the open parameter is set to true, and the transition from open to close is called when it is set to false. Then I return to the empty state, and that is the same setup of the animator controller as I created it for the door. This means this is the same interface, and we can use the same script, the same logic. Okay, and for this logic I have to create a script. Let's call this opener. Okay, very generic. It is an opener, and in the end, as I said, I want to apply the same script for the door also. Okay, now I have the opener script. Let's open this in Visual Studio, and what we need is a panel. I want to display a panel when the player is entering a trigger. That's also something we have to add. We have to add a trigger to the table. But now let's open here this door script and let's compare this. It is really quite the same. You have an object that needs to be opened and closed. So in order to refactor this, we have to see where are the differences, and there's just one difference you can see here in the start method. Here for the opener, the animator is located at the root object, and for the door it is located here at the child object called door. Okay, but the first step will be that I copy all this logic here that we have in the door script to the opener script, and then I will check if this works. And if this works, then I will see how to generalize the animator, and after that we can remove the door script and use one script for the door and for the table. Okay, now the next step will be I have the opener now attached to the table. Now let me drag the panel, the open panel, onto this open panel public member variable. And what we also need is a trigger. We have a trigger that we are entering a certain distance to this table, and then the panel should appear. So I add a box collider, mark this as trigger, and now I will run this and see if this works. I press open and the drawer is opened. Okay, really great. But now let's solve the animator problem. Make all the animators of both scripts public, and then we have the possibility to assign the animator from the outside. From the scene, for the door, we use the door animator, or the object to which the animator for the door is attached. Here it is called door, and for the table we do the same. And after we did this, we don't need a door script anymore. We can use the opener script for the door also, and this is called refactoring. This makes your logic you programmed reusable and effective, and keeps your project small and clear. So let's do this. Let's add the opener to the door, assign the panel and also the animator, and after we did this we can remove the door script from this object and also from the whole project. Then move the open script to the scripts folder, and we are done and have a nice organized project. And by the way, I will upload this to my Patreon account, and if you're my patron you can download it from this page. Okay, my friends, thanks a lot for watching this. I really hope you like it, and please subscribe to my channel. And it would be really great if you could support me on my Patreon so that I have more time to create tutorials like this and perhaps work less on my regular job someday. Again, thanks a lot for visiting J&M, and see you soon.